Hello and welcome to this yet another special broadcast on the assassination of Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh. And trust me, the dust hasn't settled yet, and how and why it would be. Possible ramifications from Iran on the cards. Hezbollah's response has already started. How would Israel look at it? And above all, how would United States respond to it in view of the impending elections there? The all-important fight between the Republicans and the Democrats. To discuss that further, this time around, we have brought you voices from Israel, we have brought you voices from US, UK, Ehsan Safarnejad, an Iranian geopolitical analyst, joins us all the way from Iran itself, from the southern part of Iran. Ehsan, thank you so much for speaking to One India, brother.
Thanks for inviting.
Thank you. Ehsan, the first thing that comes to everyone's mind, especially in this part of the world, and I'm sure elsewhere as well, how was Ismail Haniyeh assassinated, first of all, and what exactly transpired during that incident?
The details, the exact details are still unknown. But we know that he was in a compound that is related, has some sort of link to IRGC because they are responsible for protecting the leaders of other countries, other organizations who come to Iran. So this was that building. There are theories being thrown around. There are a couple of them that we can actually rule out. For example, the ludicrous assertion by some accounts online, unknown accounts, I should say, that F-35s have been flown into Iranian airspace. We can safely say that that wasn't the case. We have seen the image of the debris in the building, and well, we know that based on the damage that has been done to that building, that most likely the damage was done due to use of a small loitering munition with very small explosive warhead, probably no more than 5 to 7 kilogram of explosive material. There are theories that are going around about the specific type of ammunition that was used, but this is the general understanding of us as of right now about how the assassination was carried out.
Absolutely. Even the morning newspapers here in India, if I may speak for this part of the world, have only today come up with theories that there was a bomb that was placed there 2 months ago, and then it was detonated. Lots of theories going around. No pictures, Ehsan, coming out of Iran and that deadly attack that happened. Any specific reason? Does Tehran want to keep it under the wraps?
Well, obviously, this is a safe house, and you're not going to basically broadcast and show the inside vicinity of a building that is considered a safe house. But we do actually have the image, a very long shot, a landscape sort of imagery of the overall damage that has been done to the building. So we know what has happened again, and based on that picture, I'm saying that the damage that was done was very small, right? But it was a very precise attack, right? And we know that it was only Mr. Ismail Haniyeh and his bodyguard who were assassinated. So based on these informations, we know that the attack was small. We know that there was not much damage being done to the building. And again, if people expect the image from the interior of the building, this is not going to happen. Again, this is a semi-military base / safe house. The images will never come out from inside the building. From the outside of the building, we have the images.
Right. Ehsan, who stands to gain from this assassination the most? Who stands to gain the most?
I would say nobody, actually. because I mean, this is the analysis, this is my assessment, that Israel wouldn't gain something from this. This is a very surface level winning for Israel. Let me explain myself. There were 3 assassinations being carried out in the region. One was the assassination of Mr. Haniyeh, which you have invited me to discuss, right? And then we had the assassination of Hezbollah major and senior military commander, Mr. Fuad Shikri, yes, in Beirut. This person was in contact with Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, every few hours in Lebanon, which goes to show you how important of a person he was. And then we had the assassination of Abu Hassan Maliki, from a top commander in Iraq by United States. He was the commander of Kitab Sayyid al-Shuhada. So out of these 3 figures, based on what is going to take place on the ground and how much it infects what's taking place on the ground between the soldiers, the kind of military operations that are going to take place, I would say that the assassination of Mr. Haniyeh had the least impact, right? But again, this for Israel has become some sort of excuse in order to make up for their failure of, for example, assassinating Mr. Muhammad al-Dayf. If they were able to do that, it would have been a huge victory. The mastermind, the brilliant commander, and the head of the military wing of Hamas, Mr. Muhammad al-Dayf, that assassination would have entailed so much, right? The commander who devised the plan for October 7th, that would have been a real victory. It would have been still considered a tactical victory, right? It wouldn't have been a strategic victory for Israel, but it would have been a major one, right? But they failed to do that. Now, I go one person down the list of top most important people to be assassinated. You have Mr. Yahya Sinwar. They were unable to do that. And they have constantly made the claims that they were trying to assassinate. These claims are coming from Israeli side, right? So we understand that they have failed. And in their failure, they have reached out to grab and I'm sorry to put it this way, I don't mean to disrespect Mr. Haniyeh, but the low-hanging fruit. What they have done is to take the low-hanging fruit. And obviously, if Iranian response would be a substantial one, I say this very strongly.
Yes.
The previous time, the Iranian general, Mr. Salami, the head of IRGC, conducted an interview. And in that interview, he said, we decided to establish a new equation, right? So the previous time Iran introduced a precedent, right? Now, after April 14th, we are living in a world that Iran has already carried out an attack on Israel, losing hundreds of drones and missiles. Now, post April 14th, we have only one incident of that attack. If it happens another time, then we don't have just a precedent. We have a new norm that, maybe people would be desensitized to the new developments into the region. So I would actually say that if this happens, then that means that the intelligence apparatus in Israel has actually failed in order to assess the escalation and manage it properly, and they actually have failed. And so far, by the for example, by the situation with the Tel Aviv stock market and the fact that it's a very bearish stock market as of right now, the price of the stocks are decreasing. I would say to a certain extent, it has already begun to show itself as a failure.
Right. Ehsan, it all started as the retaliation, as the revenge to the October 7 attack. And from October 7, 300 days later, we are here. Now, an emissary, a representative of a different country is killed on Iranian soil. We have seen the flag of revenge also flying high in Iran. How far would Iran go, in your opinion, to respond to this crisis militarily?
Okay, so first I would like to assert that this didn't actually took place and started after the October 7th. Palestinians have been going through a systematic oppression throughout almost 8 decades right now, right? And there are United Nations resolutions that mandates that Israel should, for example, Resolution 242 talks about how Israel should evacuate the illegal settlements that were built in West Bank, right? So it happened from the Nakba. It started from Nakba. The Israelis started this. But going back to your main question, the core of the question, this time around, we know that the retaliation will be much more forceful in comparison to what happened in April 14th. This is going to be a more serious one. The Iranian leader is very careful with the way that he chooses his words. So, for example, he has used the terms in order to describe the Iranian revenge previously as a slap of punishment, an act of revenge, right? This time he has used the term khunkhwahi. Khunkhwahi is a very difficult word in order to translate into English, but it basically means to take revenge for the blood that has been shed. In the costume of Iranians, in some regions, in also other regions in Middle East, the way that you avenge the blood that has been shed, khunkhwahi, is through actually very, very severe form of punishment, which would equate the kind of thing that has been done. Namely, there was an assassination. There is not going to be an assassination. There's going to be a response. But in that response, it's not just going to be limited to damaging the properties of the military bases in Israel. It's going to be a more serious one, including maybe the lives of the commanders, senior commanders inside Israel. So that's the first part. We know that Iran will most likely launch missiles from within the Iranian borders, like April 14th. But there are a couple of ways that Iran actually can ramp up its escalation. For example, previous time, Iranian side sent a message to Israel through the mediators, and because the two countries obviously don't have any direct contact with one another, but they said that they are going to strike Israel in the next 72 hours. They can refrain from doing so, which would take away Israel's ability in order to defend its airspace. They can use more serious weapons. As of right now, the word on the street amongst the analysts is that they have prepared a very particular missile that has a capability in order to maneuver. People might recall in April 14th, there was a missile that maneuvered at a period of time before the moment of impact. It caught the attention of the military analysts around the world. I have heard that they have prepared, multiple silos of roughly around 100 silos of those missiles, which means that the attacks might actually be so important. The targets might be so important that there is a need for Israel to locate and place an air defense system, near them in order to protect them. And Israel is, apologies, Iran is determined to target those areas. Obviously, we still don't know what's going to take place exactly, but I'd like to wrap this up, the answer to this question up with this final statement by the Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council that said that the attack of retaliation for this, apart from Iran carrying out its operation, will come from different fronts. And we obviously, as I mentioned in response to your previous question, Hezbollah already has a reason in order to retaliate against Israel. Hashd al-Sha'bi in Iraq, they also have a reason, and Yemen's Ansar Allah still hasn't responded to the explosion in the port of Al-Hodeidah, which they will most likely respond to. So I would say that the next couple of weeks is going to be very hard for Israelis to deal with the situation.
Absolutely, Ehsan. The way you have mentioned several quarters which are ready and which have legitimate reasons in their right to hit back at Israel is something that paints a picture that this particular conflict / war won't be limited to the particular region. One partner of Israel, which is watching the whole episode unfold, is United States. How does Iran view the role of United States vis-a-vis this Israeli aggression, Israeli war against Hamas?
Well, one thing that many analysts inside Iran are saying now is that the Israeli regime didn't do it on its own. This wasn't an independent act by Israel. Obviously, the assassination of Abu Hassan Maliki in Iraq was a direct action that was carried out by United States. So in that instance, it was solely United States to blame for. But many believe that Netanyahu received the permission in order to carry out such a strike when he went into US Congress, and after all the massacre, the genocide that's taking place in Palestine, the things that are publicly being said by the cyber sort of army, the troll farms of the Zionist regime that are talking about legitimization of sexual violence against the prisoners of war, and the things that actually United States has stated about violation of the prisoners' rights inside the Zionist regime. When after all of these things, he went into the Congress and he gave a speech. And in that speech, he talked about how fighting Hamas is fighting Iran, how fighting Yemen's Ansar Allah is fighting Iran, how fighting Hezbollah is fighting Iran, and how fighting Iran is fighting the enemy of United States, the most important enemy of United States. And the representative of the Congress, they actually gave him a standing ovation. So he, in a way, he received the permission in order to carry out this series of strikes in different countries. So that's the way that Iran has seen the actions of Israel. And obviously in Iran, there is always that cognizance about the way and the relations between Israel and United States, the constant and annual monetary aid that is sent into Israel, and the political link between the two capitals, Tel Aviv and Washington, D.C. So that's the way that we view it. But from the statements of the Iranian commandos, we understand that the political brass, the military brass in Iran, they actually care very little about the threats that are coming out of United States, and we consider this as a security threat for Iran that, if not answered to in a very substantial form of military retaliation, then it would undermine the Iranian sovereignty. So there is no doubt that the response will come. And if United States gets involved, they should understand that their interest in the region, the series of military bases that they have inside the region, the oil that they are stealing currently in the eastern side of Syria, the places of intelligence gathering that they have in Iraq, in different countries and other countries of the region, these are all potential legitimate targets for Iran if they choose to intervene in Iran's right under the international law to carry out the retaliation against a country that has violated Iran's sovereignty.
Yes, and very clearly put, and really appreciate your insights on the stand of Iran in these testing times. Ehsan, in this part of the world, in India and in the Middle Eastern side, the word Ehsan carries a lot of meaning. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ehsan would mean a favor without asking for anything in return. To me,
yes,
being a student of literature also, Ehsan also means forgiveness, I would say, to a certain extent. Any scope of forgiveness, peace, tranquility in this whole scenario of chaos that we are seeing from any side, from every side?
Well, I would say that obviously from the side that is carrying out the genocide and talking about how they are willing in order to carry out atrocious crimes on the international level, violating all the different articles of Geneva Convention. I would say that it is most unlikely to come from that side. But we have a poem in Iranian literature, which I hope that you would appreciate. It says, "Tarahum bar," it says, "Tarahum bar palang tiz dandan, jafakari بود بر گوسفندان," which means that if you show mercy to an aggressive tiger, aggressive wolf, then you are oppressing and undermining the rights of the sheep. So, understand, this is the Iranian culture. The Iranian culture doesn't equate and make a synonymous link between mercy and cowardice. Because if you show that you are not willing to put up a good fight for the right cause, then it is not the mercy that you're showing. It is a sign of your cowardice. And if Iran has shown anything in the last 4 decades that it has been established, is that we are anything but coward. We fought against Saddam's regime for 8 years. We fought alongside our brothers in Syria. We fought alongside our brothers in Iraq. And we helped a lot of people, liberated a lot of people from the rule of Daesh, ISIS, that was killing, murdering innocent civilians. We protected the Christians in Syria, in Iraq. We helped the minorities that were being discriminated and killed by the extremist forces of the fundamentalist ISIS forces, ISIS terrorists. And we have always shown that we are dedicated to put up a good fight for the right cause.
Ehsan Safarnejad, thank you so much for putting Iran's viewpoint, your own viewpoint, in no uncertain terms. And I'm sure the world would take note of it. And before the matter escalates further, there is a stop, we all wish, to this once and for all. Thank you, Ehsan, for speaking to One India.
Again, thanks for inviting me. I hope that your viewers would, have a more firm understanding of the situation right now.
Indeed, indeed. And there are always 2 to 3 sides of a story, and the world should know the Iranian viewpoint also from the Iranian perspective. And that's why you came in. We really appreciate your time and candor here. And as would be, there are so many countries, including India, that has been the victim of this proxy war going on, of this interpretations and misinterpretations. So I think in the democratic right of any country, this is what it is to be done. Thank you, Ehsan, for speaking to us.
Don't miss out. Follow One India for real-time updates.